songs. Track number 8, Ain't No Nigga. This song is actually one of the first songs on this album that I listened to that actually sounded like a single. Where the chorus is catchy, the verses are dope, and to me, it's arguably that Foxy Brown actually probably watched Jay-Z on this song. To me, in my personal opinion, her verse was long, it was interesting, she like rapped to the beat. In my opinion, it was definitely like a single song. Of course, this is featuring Foxy Brown, and it's produced by Jaz O, or Big Jaz, however you want to call him. It was definitely, this is like the first song that I think should have been a single. Like I said, it's catchy, the hook is catchy as fuck. Albeit it's not radio friendly, but if this song were to come out like today, it would definitely be an internet hit. It's pretty dope to me, in my opinion. I like the I think this is like the first song where he's not doing like this whole mafioso type of deal. He's kind of talking about his relationship with women at that particular time, and he's also talking about a particular type of female, in my personal opinion on this. So I really like the song. It was catchy. I will have it on replay. Track number 10, Friend or Foe. This is a pretty short track, and it was produced by DJ Premier. And I like this track. Am I gonna have it on replay? Probably not, but I like the way that he had it like set up, where he's the boss, he's talking to this person, and he was saying like, hey, you coming over here trying to get this money, you probably got to work in the hotel, so I'm gonna need the room key. And I like the flow on it. The flow was pretty dope. The instrumental was dope because it had like these trumpets in the background, which was dope. And I like one of the best parts, one of the best verses on here, or the best line I think on this verse was,
"You draw, better be Picasso. You know the best. Cause if this is not so, God bless."
And I like how he did that because, you know, that's a double entendre, because Picasso draw. But, you know, when you draw your weapon, he also, that's why I mean, like, it's a double entendre. And this is one of the things where people really love Jay-Z for, because of his lyricism and his ability to tell a story. So I completely agree with him on this one. This one was dope. So on to the next one. Track 11, Coming of Age. This song is featuring Memphis Bleek and is produced by Clark Kent. And this song is pretty good, in my opinion. The coming of age, it makes sense because Memphis Bleek was supposedly going to be the protege to Jay-Z, which I think that's kind of weird, because Jay-Z, this is his first album. How can he have a protege and he hasn't even came out with his first project yet? But in any case, I thought this was dope. I like it kind of reminded me of the earlier song, Brooklyn's Finest, where, you know, you have two rappers going back and forth. Now that's something that's really like unheard of. You don't really hear that too much in today's music, but it's pretty refreshing to hear. And I like the story of how they set it up, where, you know, he's Jay-Z is trying to tell Memphis Bleek on how he should do his money. He said, don't worry about the fame, just think about the money. And, you know, that's some pretty good advice for some people who just like to stay in the background, who really don't want that fame, but they definitely want the money. So I think this is dope. This is not a song I'm going to have on replay, but for his history's sake, it's pretty dope. Track 12 is Cashmere Thoughts, and it's produced by Clark Kent. This is a dope song. From the instrumental, which is so dope, it's very catchy. I mean, it's a really, really dope song. There's so many quotables in this song. It's really hard to choose which ones I like, but from the first verse, when he says,
"I talk jewels and spit diamonds, all cherry like a hymen, when I'm rhyming with remarkable time."
That is just so dope. Back in the 90s, this is when lyrics was like a really big deal, when you actually had to rhyme and it had to make sense. And this is one of those songs where it just was pretty dope. And supposedly Clark Kent says that the reason that this song is called Cashmere Thoughts is because the song is based off of him talking to an alias of Jay-Z called Cashmere Jones, and Cashmere Jones is a pimp. So this was a really good song. I actually like the song so much that I'm definitely gonna have it on replay, because it is very, very good. I highly recommend you guys check this out. I wish this was a single, even though I know it's not single quality, but this definitely deserves to be on replay. Track number 13 is Bring It On. And there's a couple things that's interesting about this track to me. And it's not even Jay-Z, which is the ironic part about it. First thing is that at the end of the script, there's a saying that the younger generations use, which is face ass. They use that a lot, and it's kind of ironic that 20 years pretty much of today that this saying was also being used, but now it's becoming more prevalent. So when the younger generation is like, oh, face ass this, face ass that, it's ironic because I hear this from the younger generation, and then I listen to this album that's 20 years and 1 day old now, and it's just ironic. And then the second thing that I thought was pretty interesting is that I feel like Jaz-O kind of washed Jay-Z on this album. His flow was a lot better, his lyricism was better to me. I do like Jay-Z's portion of his verse at the end when he says,
Horizontal, get your weight up. I am 2.2 pounds, you're barely 125 grams. Wouldn't expect y'all to understand this money. Do the knowledge, do the...
I think that's actually one of the coldest things in this, in his verse, even though I think Jaz-O did a lot better with the verse 3 compared to Jay-Z's verse 2. On to the next one. Track number 14 is called Regrets, and it's a pretty dope ending for a song. To have a song that talks about regrets and what his life has led up to that point. And the hook is actually pretty interesting because it talks about the rules of if you want to survive, you're gonna have regrets. That's just what it is. And I think this song also is another song that's gonna transcend this album because it talks about something that is almost eternal when it comes to humanity. And I think that the instrumental was actually pretty dope in my opinion. I think his lyricism, Jay-Z's lyricism on this is actually pretty dope. There's a line on here where he says, I sold it all from crack to opium, in third person, I don't want to see him. And that's actually, he's talking about something that actually is real, that actually happens. If you ever been in a drug game before, that's something that you know. That is something that, and I think he speaks to a particular niche set of people who had to go through that to make a living. So I think that at the time that it was actually very well done. And on the original CD, this is the last song, but on the 1998 reissue, there's another song which I'm about to get to next. Track number 15, Can I Live 2, featuring Memphis Black, and it's produced by K-Rob. And by far, this is the best song on Reasonable Doubt. It talks about what else do you expect from Jay-Z at this moment in time about his drug dealing. And it asks, can I live? Of course, he has a shout out to Air Force Ones, which is interesting because that's before Nelly made it big. He also talks about people saying pause, which I thought was really interesting because I didn't know that saying was around in 1996. Of course, Jay-Z, his rhyme on here, especially verse number 2, was dope as fuck. Memphis Bleak did pretty good. I don't think either one washed the other one, but it was definitely equal footing on the lyricism. The beat was dope, albeit looped and repetitive as fuck, but overall it was pretty good. And I think this is a great way to close out the album. I think that as an overall project, this project is definitely gonna be in the historical lexicon for hip hop. It's gonna be something that is, like I said, a link between Biggie and Jay-Z. It's going to be a link between Nas and Jay-Z. It's going to be a link between Jay-Z and Memphis Bleak. It's going to be a link between Jay-Z and Clark Kent, DJ Premier. There's so many people who put their talents into making this album. And people have said that hip-hop at this moment in time was like boxing, like a one-on-one type sport, but it's really not. Hip-hop has always been a team sport, albeit when these albums first come out, you don't see and hear everybody who worked on the album until years later. And 20 years later, you can go on Genius to find out anything about these albums. So I think the team that he had with him at this moment in time was great. It really set him up for success. Let me know what you guys think below. This is Breeze, the hip hop guy, and as always, I will see you soon. I'm out.
Yeah, bitch.